Welcome to Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Today we got Ryan Cramer, the affiliate manager of PingPong. PingPong is a payment solution for Amazon sellers and as well for e-commerce sellers in general. We all know Ryan from Crossover Commerce. Yes, but today it will be different. I'm going to ask him the questions and he will reply, and we will know a little bit more about his life. Welcome, Ryan. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much.
It's a weird, unique story I love sharing with people because I'm not a Amazon seller myself, but I have been in the service industry pretty much my entire career. So back when I graduated university in 2012, I actually was in the newspaper and digital marketing side of things. I was in charge of new business to go out, talk about print ads, talk about magazine inserts, and talk about like digital display ads, SEM, SEO optimization for businesses, and kind of work with businesses face to face. So it was my job to go around Southern Indiana. I'm from Indiana, so I was working in a regional newspaper for Southern Indiana, Northern Kentucky, and Southern Illinois, which is in the middle of nowhere. There's not a lot of like metropolitan area in that area, but it was my job to find businesses and bring about technology solutions in print advertising marketing solutions. So did that for about a year and a half, my first job out of college. So I was like making phone calls, things like that with businesses, learning and listening from people, and then obviously trying to provide solutions to their problems. But as a lot of people know, the newspaper industry, it has a lot of difficulties, and they had to let a lot of people go. So my first job out of college, I was actually let go during December, like that December of 2013, I think. And I was going to get married of April of that next year. So I was already unemployed, my first job out of college. My fiance at the time was in Connecticut, so not even near me. She was finishing up college up there for an internship, and I had no job. So we were searching constantly. We were trying to figure out like, what are we going to do? And she actually, the first position she had applied for was for music therapy. That's the position, or that's the industry she's in. She got a job in Virginia, which is on the East Coast of the United States. So I was like, let's do it. Let's move out to Virginia. Let's kind of, maybe I'll find something there that intrigues me and I can kind of learn the business. So actually through searching and getting a job, there's a company called Evergreen Enterprises, which they manufacture and distribute home gift garden items. They manufacture their products in Ningbo, China, and then they send them overseas to obviously different ports in the United States, but their headquarters is on the East Coast. So then they would have their own warehouse in Richmond, Virginia, and distribute those goods to like third party, like Wayfair, Zulily, Fanatics. They did licensed goods. So they were talking with like Pier 1, they anywhere in the United States, Canada, and as far as like Europe, we were sending our products on the e-commerce side, but also selling directly to like retailers as well. My job was to actually work with partners and to build up the business to consumer model. So it was our own branded website, and I was in charge of like talking to third-party websites to feature our products with a brand that didn't exist, work with blogs, and really just try to like elevate our websites, which were like two branded websites with different focuses. One was for sporting goods. The other one was for like home gift garden decor. And my job was to like sell people on like, hey, give us a chance. These will sell. So I was working with like Ebates, bradsdeals.com, a lot of deal websites and blogs. And we went from $0 in revenue to over $1 million in revenue just in my channel alone for working with these like different deals, different kinds of product features, almost like a sponsored display deal. So that's kind of where my introduction to e-commerce grew. I did that for about 2 years. And then my wife and I wanted to move back closer to family in the Midwest of the United States. And then there's not a lot of technology jobs at that time in the Midwest, or e-commerce, I should say. So I actually found a position with a professional NBA and WNBA team here in Indiana called the Indiana Pacers and Indiana Fever. So I was working for the professional professional basketball teams here in Indianapolis. So I was doing events, working with partners in terms of like hosting events at the arena. So I did that for about 2.5 years or so, just trying to kind of figure out my way, what I wanted to do. I'm really into sports. I'm really into like helping people and like entertaining with people. So it felt like a natural thing. But if you're not familiar with the sporting industry, it's nice to go as a fan, but it's really difficult as an employee because you're working 9 to 5 and then you have to work the event at night. You're getting done around 11 o'clock, even later if the game goes longer. And then you come back the next day and then you start it all over again. So it was really difficult.
Obviously Saturday, Sunday as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Holidays, Saturday, Sunday, you had to be there in person. There was no like, you can't travel. There's no way to like remote VPN or anything like that from any, like we can as e-commerce sellers. You had to be there physically in person. So it was very difficult to like, my wife and I, we were adopting our son at the time. We were going through all these different things and it was just really strenuous on a family life. So what I was looking for is just more like, hey, I want to get back into e-commerce and Amazon. And I found an opportunity actually with the company called Viral Launch with Casey Goss and that team. They're located here in Indianapolis. So I was really lucky to kind of ride that wave with them and work with them for 11 months. Loved it, did partnerships, did business development with them, got to meet a lot of cool and interesting people in the Amazon and e-commerce space just by kind of helping promote Viral Launch. So by doing that, it kind of gave me this like itch of, hey, I love Amazon. I really want to help in business develop and help people grow on Amazon. So that was the beginner segment that I was focused on. But then I had a really great opportunity with PingPong, which is where I'm currently at, to grow kind of this global kind of technology company for e-commerce and Amazon in the Amazon space on a global level. So that's where I was really excited. Tim Jordan was the one who said, hey, maybe you should check out this opportunity. I really liked the optics of it, liked jumping into it and just really pushing myself in a different avenue of Amazon and e-commerce than what I was already experienced in. So that's kind of where I'm at today is now I'm that's where I by accident, like now I started a podcast. I'm connecting with people like yourself who are, experts in the field, who I'm also trying to bring expertise in our audience, to our audience as well, for what we do as for PingPong.
So for now, I remember in 2019. Yeah, we got over 2021. No, 2020. Sorry.
Yeah, it was already 2020. Yeah, when we first connected. It feels like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. You did about
guests 60 so far. So we had 30 in 2020, and that's already gone. Like we're gonna blow that out of the water. We're gonna be, I think on track easily, probably close to 150, 200 by the end of 2021. Like it's pretty insane. Like
that's
January's already booked out. February is pretty booked, and it's the amazing amount of people who are willing to come on and want to share their vision is kind of cool.
Sure.
And I shared this in my post. I think there's only one person that I've ever had on my show that I've ever met in person, which is really weird and unique to think about. Like all these people I'm either reaching out to on social media, we've been connected in one shape or form, like either business partners, or I just love the content they're putting out there. And I just happen to reach out and say, hey, I love your content. This is what spoke to me. I'm doing something similar. Would love to share your story on my platform. And that's kind of where business and networking has kind of has led me to in 2021 even, is how are we going to continue to innovate and grow our businesses with other ones around the world? So it's a weird journey to be on. Didn't think I'd be hosting a podcast like you, I'm sure.
Yeah, the podcast in general is something really special, because you get to know people even better as in conversation. You can understand their journey, you can understand what they are professionally up to. And, there are so many hidden things which they even might not know, So for me, the podcast is really, it's a pleasure. I really like it. It's another passion which I discovered recently. So, So
absolutely. It's nice to be on that side when you're asking the questions.
Exactly. No, it's both sides are nice, because you can express yourself, and at the same time, you can say, okay, but for example, you've been brought up in Indiana. I mean, what was your what was your, your childhood in Indiana, I suppose, because you said you're from the Midwest. So what was your childhood, and
Yeah,
then where did
good
you go?
question.
I mean, at some point you needed to go, out of the norm, because if you do something special, it will reflect very, very early in life, especially as an entrepreneur, especially when you do things on your own,
Absolutely.
when you work from home, discipline, all these things, which people who have another way than the usual jobs. I mean, we don't talk about CEO or something. I mean, the normal jobs that they, that they don't have, for example, So how did you come, and where do you think this switch happened, for example?
Yeah, I have a weird background. I always say like it's a unique perspective that I've had on life. So I am the oldest of 5 children. So I grew up in a big Catholic family in Indiana, which is pretty conservative by nature in the state. My family and I was the oldest, so I kind of like I breezed through and kind of like led my brothers and sisters in terms of like what I did. And I was super involved. I loved just having my hands on a little bit of everything. I wanted to be kind of the jack of all trades, if you will. Like I didn't want to just be known for one thing. I wanted to do everything. So I was super involved in school. I developed a passion for baseball when I was a young kid.
Oh,
as young as 3. So I played baseball from when I was 3 years old all the way through varsity when I was 18. And I won a state championship for baseball when I was a junior, actually. When we were a really small Catholic school, so a private institution. We were really good at sports, so I was constantly traveling for baseball. I played as far as like New York. I played in the College World Series, like town where they held that. It was just constantly, and during the summers, that's what I did. So it kind of got my itch for traveling in the United States, and my family would travel a lot as a family. So when I kind of like switch mentalities in terms of like entrepreneurship and kind of like there's more than just like where I grew up, was probably when I was a senior in high school, and I kind of before I got into college. So my first job, I did like I worked in restaurants. I did a couple of like landscaping jobs when I was a kid, like just manual labor. I'm young. I was like, yeah, I'll just do it because it's easy.
No baseball. Didn't you ever think about baseball going professional, for example?
I wish that would be super nice. And we probably wouldn't be talking right now if that was the case, but no. So baseball. So a lot of people don't see me. I'm really short I'm like 5'7", so I'm not tall by any stretch of imagination. So even though like I have the skills and I like to pat myself on the back, I did push myself, kind of going back to what I did to be well-rounded. I did sports. I did debate team when I was in high school. I did speech. So I was like public speaking in high school. I also developed a passion for drama. So I was in musicals and theater, plays as well. So I was in theater. A lot of people don't see me as that kind of context, but maybe that portrays my larger than life personality of I'm constantly talking. I kind of funneled that into theater to be a different character. So I really developed that love. I did that in high school, a little bit in college, and even in community theater. I've done as recent as 2020 before pandemic hit. I was doing improv, like just in front of crowds. So it's something where I could think on my feet, kind of push the normal boundaries and like go outside my comfort zone. So that was really cool. But baseball, God did not bless me with height or the ability, I think, like physically to kind of be one of the top people. So instead of college, I kind of applied myself for academically. But that turning point to what you were asking, Omar, was I think my senior year between high school and college, I was selling Cutco knives, which is actually a brand here in the United States. They teach you how to like be personable, do presentations through the whole sales process of, asking questions, learning about their problems, and then kind of selling a product. It's a very basics in terms of sales. And I was really drawn to it because even though it was a weird product to be selling almost door to door, right? It was through referrals. Yeah. Hey, do you know this person? Can I do this presentation in front of them to help me, grow my network? I had to like learn to sell something as unique as knives and flatware. And it really pushed me to be different. And I was independent. I did that for 2 summers just as like something where it pushed me to build a network of individuals and then kind of take a step further into like, I was building my own business, if you will. So I was getting commissions on sales. I was networking with people. I was like making handshakes. I was saying, hey, if you ever have a need, like, let me help you out in that capacity. Even though it was a very small niche, it was the concept of business kind of sparked me. So that being said, I did that for 2 seasons. I was actually, or 2 summers. I traveled to conferences. I networked with people. I actually was an assistant manager. I funded then my trip actually just by a summer of sales. You get commissions on it. So I was able to actually fund my money to travel abroad my sophomore year of college. So I actually spent time, that was my part 2, if you will, of like different mindset growth. I was able to study abroad in England when I was sophomore in college. So when I turned 19 to 20, that's when I actually, or 18, gosh, when was I? I would have been 19 years old roughly, turning and studied in Grantham, England for about 3 months or so. So I was able to travel to 10 different countries, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, France. Obviously I went to Paris, did 10 days in Italy, which was really cool. I mean, I did the whole, like on the weekends when you had a long weekend. Yeah, in 3 months I did 10 countries. So I was just like every weekend we were traveling to a different city or country, just kind of like bustling through stuff. So it was a lot, but I gained so much cultural appreciation for different places I was at, trying different foods, speaking different languages, just kind of understanding cultural and context. So that's where I really like developed this passion for traveling in general. So being from the Midwest, it kind of broadened your horizons of, hey, there's so much more out there. There's different religions, there's different cultures, just different ways of handling yourself as a person, and just kind of like allowed me to take more in and kind of like broaden my mind. So I took that back to college. I really wanted to focus on either business and communications and marketing. And that's kind of where it took me in that direction from that mentality.
Yeah, but from what I see from the story, what you're now saying, I mean, now we know where the passion for example, for the podcast comes from. I mean, you cannot do a podcast if you don't like to talk. That's 100%. So from drama, we see already. I mean, baseball, obviously, because when you do sports, you have some kind of discipline. Obviously. So you need to travel, you need to talk to your team, you need to talk to your trainer, you need to talk to different people. So here we go. We got already the background of the podcast,
I'm super competitive by nature. So I kind of want to, like, if I see someone doing something, I want to do it better, or I want to I don't want to half complete something. That's something that I'm even pushing myself now to do, is like my word for 2021 is follow through. And I have a lot of great ideas, making sure like if we can follow through on them, making sure that I can push myself even more in different areas. So that competitive nature, like you said, that ability to talk and be comfortable with just being yourself in front of people through theater, through drama. Yeah, of course, like a lot of people like you and me don't like to speak in front of crowds. For me, it's kind of that exhilarating kind of adrenaline that helps drive you. But if you hear it from me, I speed up and I like talk really quickly. I'm like, I want to get through all my points. But with this kind of thing, it's allowed me to like slow down, really think about where we're going to communicate and connect with people, and kind of like help build my mindset and my skill set, if you will, of when we're in front of other people again, maybe it's easier to connect with people and get across a point in your expertise a little bit easier. So this is almost like I think a stepping stone into like that big arena of like talking in front of bigger groups, or, whatever that looks like down the road. But being a podcast, like you said, you have to be willing to share a point of view or just listen. I think that's the other key component is listening is a different, you have to just listen and kind of like hear what they're talking about. And you can't push an agenda on any sort of podcast. You have to be willing to get a perspective and kind of ask questions, not be afraid to ask questions. I think that's also key.
It's pretty important. And what I think as well, now, okay, this all began in these Corona times, so if we would not have these Corona times, I'm sure you would already speak in front of crowds, so whenever it is finished,
who knows?
I'm waiting really to see you in front of crowds and putting your point across, and talk about, and this will be completely different, because then we see Ryan Cramer coming and really presenting himself on stage. This will be different. This will be completely different. I mean, now we're in the comfort of our home, we're talking,
Yeah.
it's all good, but the rest is different too. And then actually to see you, because we never met in person. When I travel to the US, I'm sure I'll make sure that I'm going a little bit everywhere, but for now,
Well, that's the thing is like, I was gonna say, I love traveling, and I think that's a lot of people in our industry, what they miss. We want it to be safe, and we want everyone to be like comfortable with it, obviously. And this is kind of the place where we've had to innovate and grow. And I was telling a couple other colleagues, I just had to like push myself in different ways to, if we can't network in person, which I love doing, even so, it's almost intimidating when you see people of like certain statures, like they're well known or they're an icon in certain areas. Like it's almost like if you hit it like a star, like you're starstruck almost. Like with this kind of industry and platform, it's as easy as, hey, sending a message on Facebook Messenger or through LinkedIn. It's like, hey, love your content, would love to kind of like pick your brain with my audience. I do this podcast. I just want to have a conversation with you. And a lot of people are very much open to saying yes. And that's the cool thing about this. In person, it's a little more intimidating. You're like interrupting. You feel like the sense of like, hey, I impeded on your space. But this is a little more comfortable and segue, I think. But yeah, it's been interesting. Like I said, haven't met people in person. I consider people mentors now. Still haven't met them in person. It's just all through Zoom calls like this or through social media and just like sending notes back and forth. But it allows me to kind of like spend time with family, but also really focus on what I want to learn and what I want to like absorb a little bit more.
Yeah, it's true. So what are you up to for learning, for example? Do you have any goal at the moment for 2021? What do you want to improve? What you up to?
Yeah, good question. So as kind of like my role develops and grows, my goal is to obviously reach different people and kind of like grow exponentially in terms of like people I'm educating from or like learning from and kind of like bringing it on my show. But I really want to push a boundary. I think a lot of people see like different shows and podcasts. If you reach a certain threshold, you kind of like not made it, but you've really become some sort of like central figure that people are learning from. So I really have put a marker of like, I want to do at least 150 shows in 2021, if possible. Wow. Like that's a really big stretch. Good. Like just thinking about it, I'm like,
it is.
What am I doing? Like I'm speaking this out loud. I'm like, I'm probably pretty crazy. My wife thinks I'm crazy. She's like, you're just constantly talking to people in your office. When am I going to see you next? But I think this allows me to get perspective. Like that's where my show is centered around, is perspective. No one person is going to be able to tell me exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just interrupted you. So I mean, 250 is okay. If you do like every 2 days, every second day, one podcast, I think it's, if you tell me like 2 per day, then we can say, okay, this might be too much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
This might be
right much, now. Yeah. I'm definitely surpassing that pace right now. I have 4 per week. That's kind of like trending right now. And that's a lot.
It's a lot.
But I mean, like, I think that's a cool context of allows me to, allows me to kind of tell people, hey, like, let's connect. Let me learn about your business. Just because there's so many of them out there that don't have a voice. I think this is a cool, like for your show, it's a cool platform for people to get their name out there in a different context. But my show is centered around like perspective, and I don't have the perspective of a seller. So I can't tell you like these strategies work to get you to 6 or 7 or 8 figures. These are the different kinds of technologies I use and I suggest, and I only like talk about brands that I use. I don't do that. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is I really try to give an unbiased approach of like forethought of what value can I bring to this topic or this show with a person who either represents a service or as a seller, and where I can kind of like bring a negative information to a seller and they leave that day with like, hey, that was great information. It wasn't a sell. It was just hey, we were talking about a topic and we give insight into something. Of course, I would love for every person who watches my show to sign up with PingPong Payments and use our services. Sure. That's part of it. But with brand awareness comes trust. It becomes like you guys, if you're pushing out content, people are going to start learning to trust your brand. You're going to be trusting the information you're putting out. It's all about trust. Constantly just, yeah, it's all about trust. And that's how I view partnerships. If my competitor can come on my show and just give a very unbiased opinion of this is what this topic and how we solve this solution,
Sure.
I'm going to say that's fantastic. And we do it this way. And I have no problem saying, hey, competitor, you're not allowed. Like, I don't say you're not allowed to come on my show because you're a competitor. I'm going to say, I'm going to be an option. If you want to give your different perspective and the consumer or the listener says,
Welcome.
hey, I'm going to side with a competitor on this one, fine. That's their prerogative. I don't see any fault with that. But as long as I'm an option and I give unbiased opinion, they're going to trust me in that context as well. So
Sure.
That's where I think sellers are smarter than, anyone else out there. They're going to have to pick and choose which service they go with, which people or solution they're going to provide with, who to invest their PPC with, so on and so forth. There's so many different variables you can offshoot on. Hey, let's at least give all those options available to you so that you can make the best choice for yourself in business. Because that's at the end of the day what it is all about.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. If you're a seller, you have to be in thousand shoes. You need to do everything. It's a bit of everything. It's true. So I got a question for you. What does motivate you?
Yeah, the first two things that come to mind are my wife and my son. I'm so personally in I've been kind of through my wife. I will say I haven't been through it. My wife has been through so many different turmoils and things like that through her life. She had cystic fibrosis growing up, and then still has it, obviously. And then when right after we got back from our honeymoon, we found out that she had a partially collapsed lung, which led to down the road, a few months later, even having a double lung transplant. So I'm 100% motivated by my wife and what she does on a day-to-day basis, because she fights through all these different unforeseen things that not many people have to go through in their life. I'm blessed to have her every single day of my life. And then same with my son. Is we adopted my son from the foster system, and we just had someone that we have an abundance amount of love for, that obviously isn't biologically ours, but he is ours in every sense of the word, of as a son and as a human. And I want to do nothing more than to support them and give them all of myself. And that's obviously difficult as a professional, but that's difficult as when you're thrust into it, you have to manage all these things like safety, and you have to manage what's best for them to protect them, but you want them to grow. So there's all these different things that motivate me, but those are the two that honestly push me every single day to be a better person, provider, educator, pick up just learn more about different topics as well. So I'd say them too.
That's great. I mean, when you say something like that, when you say you got your son through his foster system, I really respect that. It's something which many people should do, but not many people have the courage to do it, actually, because it takes a
drain.
It takes everything of you. You know what I mean? It's how can I say? It's not even to talk about step out of your comfort zone. It's something on another level. You understand? It's I mean, you done it yourself. So it's wow. I can I'm speechless. It's for me. I'm blessed. I have two children of my own. But to think about to do this step is something very obviously I would do it, but to have the courage at the end to really follow through is something I really look up to, and it's a great deed to everything, for everything, especially for the child as well. So really amazing.
I mean, my wife and I, we chose obviously not to do that for the pats on the back or anything like that. This is the route that we felt like our heart was open to. And the difficult thing is all the unforeseen things that you see when you go through adoption or anything like that. You think there's easy ways to go about it. I think we even ask ourselves that how do we get through that process, because you're dealing with legal ramifications, you're talking about different paperwork, there's all sorts of things that you yourself have to for for those who go down the route, it is difficult. There's so much more that you have to like look after. Of you have visits with people, different entities, or like guardianships, and checking in with either biological parents or families. And that's such a drain emotionally when you have to see them like interact with another entity, and then they're potentially may not be with you like in the long run. So there's that drain of like, what if something happens and they aren't up for adoption or things like that. So there's all these different ups and downs that we had no idea if we would see coming our way, that we had to go through. But obviously everything works out kind of for a reason, and you just have to like do the work. You have to have a good support system, and you have to have faith in your significant other, because I think at the end of the day too, this ties back to business. You have to have a why of what you are constantly doing this for. Is if it is the why to support your family, this is why to like, you want to just like be an entrepreneur yourself, is a why to make your, you want to like become more than what you are currently. What is that why, and make that drive you? And that's constantly what my wife and I are constantly always talking about, like, why do we do and make these choices? Like, what do we want to come from this? And I think as a local point, that's kind of success, I think, truly.
Oh, I can relate to that. The why is the most important. If you don't have a why in the morning to get up, there is no way you can make it. So and I think most of us have this why because of family. The family is the why. To motivate them, to show them the example, and to just make a better world and make them part of this better world. So to wrap it up quickly, going back to the business. For example, if you would say, if you would give a message to the listeners out there, or as well to anyone who's running a business at the moment, or to the other question we come later, but who's running a business at the moment, what would you tell them, to encourage them? Because a lot of people lost everything. A lot of people go into crisis, or maybe other people have made a lot more than they would have expected at the beginning of this crisis. So what would be your message to them, for example?
Yeah, what I would tell people would be if you believe in yourself and you're going to put in hard work, like stay with it and find out reasons. If you don't succeed, find out reasons why you failed, and then fix that and move forward and use that as your launch platform as well. Like, obviously there can be multiple different things that can set you back as an individual, whether it's like investment opportunities, or if there's just like, I don't know how to iterate or how to scale or grow. Just keep asking questions. And I think that by continuing asking questions, you're open to learning. And once you become open to that, and that's your kind of focus as an entrepreneur, you're going to have people like yourself at Margin Business, or like your company at Margin Business, or even like around the Amazon ecosystem supporting you in those endeavors, because you have people who want to like make you succeed as well. And that's what's special about this community, is that people want to constantly support other sellers and want them to be successful, because as they are successful, you're successful as well. Not just like making money, but you can kind of grow this like partnership, this sense of pride of, it's deeper than that. And I think that's what's beautiful about this, is this ecosystem is very tight in terms of networking and partnerships, but as well as like want to just see people succeed. We don't want to be malicious and take business away. At the end of the day, we all want to be successful in those endeavors, like as different service providers or whatever have you. But even at the most successful businesses, let's say, for example, like a Thrasio, like they don't control, they only control a percentage of what's being sold on Amazon, right? There's so many other people that are individually selling out there who are killing it, who are just going to be just as successful, if not than they are, and they are a multi-billion-dollar business. So it really just depends on keep going, keep asking questions, and keep reaching out to people, because I haven't once reached out to an individual that hasn't got back with me and said, hey, either sorry I missed your message, or I would love to help you. Let's connect. I think like everyone's super open to collaboration and just wants to, help people, give an insight I had my first call. Somebody from Africa reached out to me who has never sold on Amazon, but they're like, hey, I just need help, like being pointed in the right direction. And we sat on a call for 35 to 40 minutes of, hey, tell me about your background. Like, what do you want to accomplish as an entrepreneur? And let me help you point you in the right direction. Let me help you. Like, obviously I talked about like different ways that ping pong can help, but let me understand what you want to get out of life and what you want to be as an entrepreneur. And I just listened, and he just like, I never thought someone like you would be able to like, would go out of your way to like want to meet up with me. I just reached out on a whim and I said, 100% more than happy to do so. And like that gave me fulfillment to help someone hopefully be successful down the road. And I think that's why a lot of entrepreneurs go into this business, is to help people sell and grow, but also be successful themselves. So what advice I would give, keep asking questions. Like I'm constantly asking, hey, I know this sounds dumb, but break this down for me. I do that all the time on my podcast. I always ask questions like, what does this mean? Like, when did that happen? At what point did you change this mentality? Always ask questions, and then take a piece of that and elevate yourself 1% at least every single day. And you will, by the end of the day, you're going to look back and say, holy cow, I can't believe where I grew from where I was at the beginning of this journey.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because like I said, it's difficult times for almost everyone. I guess we are blessed because we have been already doing everything over the internet for a couple of years. So even the lockdowns don't really feel like lockdowns, because I'm used to it. So, or many people are used to it, training in the garden, go back in, work a little bit more, progress in their company, work on their own. So that's why I'm saying, because the mindset that we have, and that's why I'm doing as well these podcasts. I want people watching these podcasts or listening to it, because I will put them as well in audio afterwards. That they really that they can take something out of it, that they can just like reflect and say, oh, look how they did it, look the mindset they have, how they managed to do it. Maybe I can get something out of it. I mean, I work the same way. I listen to people, to big people, to people. Just give you an example. For example, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. These I'm very into sports, so I'm listening to them. I'm listening what they have said. And if you look at Mike Tyson, for example, he did 9 hours of training every day, 6 days a week, I think for 7 or 8 years in a row. So people, and then I'm asking myself, how did they do it? Or I mean, I know a little bit. I'm not a professional in sports, but I know in order to accomplish something, you have to put time in. So and this mindset. That's why I have asked as well this question. This mindset, when this comes out in the podcast and people can take away from it, I'm a happy man. That's really good. And afterwards, if they take this and even do something with it, some opening a business, and then they think back and said, oh, listen, I listened to this podcast and the other podcast, and it really helped me. And you don't have to pay for it. It's anyway all over the internet. So we're happy that we can do this actually. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the beauty about our industry too, is that you can apply these same principles and apply it to not just business, but like you yourself as a person, just like how each person is really unique. Each story is unique, because my number one word that I use is always perspective. Like you heard my story of like where I came from. No one else has that story. No one else can replicate that.
Exactly.
They can never replicate my experiences. I have my life that I've seen through a lens, and I'm going to give you every ounce of me through that lens. Now, if someone has like side by side and went through that same scenario, it's going to be a whole different story. They're probably going to be completely different person than myself. But even myself, if I got reincarnated, I would never live that same, that same mentality. I would have a whole different perspective. And that's what I think a lot of people lose their life, is that when you think about yourself and you're like, I can't believe this person doesn't see it from my point of view. And then I always ask the question after that. I was like, why don't they see it from my point of view? Like you ask that question, why? And you put yourself in your shoes. And that's what empathy is, right? You have to be empathetic of that situation. Why does that person really passionate about that topic? Whether it's politics or whether it's being whether it's a certain thing, that fad that came out on the internet, or just their philosophy on business, why are they doing that way? And when you start to dig a little bit lower on their levels of like, who made that person, like what makes that person them, you start to see, oh, this makes complete sense. Like they are super passionate because of this life experience, this lens, this perspective. And it always comes back to those main core principles of, you know, if I can just look through it that lens, I can always educate people from what I see and what I view. And that means something to people, because if I didn't sell on Amazon, like if I never sold on Amazon, I used to think like no one would take me seriously. They would never be able to, you know, take my thoughts and my business philosophies and apply it to their business and be successful. Why would I ever step out on a platform and a podcast and share that with people? But what I like really had to do during like quarantine and lockdown, and I was like, I do have a perspective and people can take it seriously, because I do have all these different life experiences, whether it's personal or professional, and people are going to value that. They didn't go through the same thing I did. I had to like go up to the biggest publishers or different businesses. Like Rakuten is a huge marketplace. I had to go up to people who worked with them and say, take me seriously. I'm a brand. I want to work with you and I'm going to make you guys money and you're going to make me money and let's work together. And I just had to like really hammer that home to people and learn things on my own. And I want to share that with people too. Like it's a constantly evolving process that no one's going to know everything, but as long as you continue to open up and keep your mind available to learning from a different, either a competitor or a different service or a different like seller, you're always going to get something unique from that perspective. So that's what I will lay my hat on today is perspective.
It's true. It's true. You know, you gain experience, you know, and it don't matter what people saying. It's up to you what you think you can do. You know, it's like I said, it's the experience. For example, especially what you just said. You've never been an Amazon seller, but you know, you've proven yourself. You learned. You did everything necessary in order to speak about it. You know, so it's what you put in your mind. You know, and it's as well your unique story. Everyone has a unique story. Everyone can come up. Not everyone is confident at this point, but everyone has a unique story, which people are interested in. You know, it's not just that only us or only other people have like unique stories and funny stories. And I mean, from life, it's everyone has his unique story. And if you think about it, you know, then and if you look in the eyes from other people, you know that there was something in you know, before in their life what was going on. So that's what I'm saying as well. Never underestimate people. Never think about that they didn't go through anything. Everyone has their story, you know, and it's super important to listen to them and to speak with them, and we can learn from everyone and we can learn together. And that's the beauty of the whole thing.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you.
And what I wanted as well to ask you, for everyone who's not, I mean, who don't know ping pong or who knows ping pong and want to know more about ping pong, what can you explain the services and the company and behind, I mean, everything what's going on, and what is the purpose of ping pong, for example, and what is the vision for the next 10 years, because companies of that size have vision of 10 years. I mean, we should as well. I have, but you know, it's not that structured, like, for example, a company like ping pong. So I would really be interested in that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good question. So PingPong Payments is an international payments provider solution that helps Amazon and e-commerce sellers save when they send or receive money to a different country, or when money is transacted to a different currency. And what I mean by that, if you're in a different country around the world and you're trying to pay a supplier in a different currency, we can help save money than the traditional sense of wiring funds or paying your supplier through like PayPal or through a different like third-party service. We have partnerships with tier 1 banks where our rates are super low that helps sellers save money on international fees. So when you're sending wire fees, you're getting charged like $50 to $150 per transaction or wire transfer to your supplier, plus any built-in conversion fee that bank is charging or the supplier is putting on top of that invoice. So what we do is give you the ability to pay out in over 160 currencies to, again, VAs, to suppliers, to advertising agencies. If you needed to even pay like margin business, for example, you can use our services to open basically essentially a digital bank account, no matter where in the world you're located, within obviously like reason, like if you're not like in different countries that we wouldn't support, but that's a very small list of different entities. But what we do allow you to do is save money when you're sending money, receiving money. So if you're selling on different marketplaces, if you're in Europe, selling in the United States, and that money is going to be converted back to you in the euro, that conversion process either happens by a bank or by Amazon typically. And when that happens, they give a convenience fee of Amazon will do it for you, but they'll charge you anywhere from like 3 to 5% every time that money comes back to your bank account. PingPong is kind of that entity where you can have it. You can either keep it in that currency that you're receiving from and use it to pay out supplier, for example, or when you do convert it back to your local currency, it's at a lower rate. Maximum that we charge people is 1% on every transaction of receiving or sending.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, 1% maximum. And so that actually maximum obviously means you can go lower. So it helps with international businesses on that scale of, hey, if I'm selling in .com, I'm definitely going to need to have that currency come back to me in euro so I can spend it, or I'm going to keep it in the USD and I can spend it with my US bank account. So that being said, that's where we help people in those kinds of conversions, saving money in that capacity. That way you can take those savings and reinvest it into your product, advertising, or pay yourself out. And then the last thing that we help with is paying GST and VAT in Europe, as well as Britain and Canada. You can pay those authorities through our portal. So it's free to sign up. You can sign up for an account. You go through a process called KYC, and basically verifies your business entity, that says, for example, you are who you say you are. And then once that's done, you can start loading in information to either send, pay out, for example, your VAs in the Philippines, or you can start sending your next payment to your supplier. And the savings comes in if you say, hey, supplier in China, we have a good working relationship. You trust me, I trust you. What if I paid you in RMB or CNY instead of USD? Can I save some money there? A lot of the times they will come back to you and say, yeah, of course. Like, we would love to do that because they're typically converting it and putting that on the invoice anyways, that fee, and baking it in so the seller's paying it. You can do a side-by-side comparison. If you paid USD, paid in local currency, what those fees will look like with us, or what the savings would look like. And it's typically going to be 2 to 3% that you're saving on every payment you go, plus eliminating those wire fees. So with that being said, that's where we kind of like help sellers on, not just on Amazon, but on e-commerce in general. You can use the same model to receive funds from your Shopify stores. If you want to sell in like Rakuten in Japan, we're the number one, we're the exclusive partner in terms of like remittance in Japan and Rakuten. Okay. Wow. So we're really big internationally in terms of that capacity, but that's kind of my quick, who are we in terms of that?
That's a good and quick overview. And as well, to add as well, intermediate bank fees. Intermediate bank fees are a big pain, because you don't even know where they're going to, and suddenly you wire, and then where is this going? It wasn't me, and the other bank say it wasn't me, and then where it's gone? It's the intermediate bank. Who was it?
Yeah, you don't know. Well, and that's the thing, is because we partner with like tier 1 banks around the world, we're not working with like really small third parties. It's actually like HSBC if you're in Europe, if like you're opening in Mexico, it's Mercado Libre. If it's those marketplaces, like you would be able to work with them. But like bank accounts like Citibank or Wells Fargo or Chase, you would be working with like brand name banks and have an account set up through them. And you can pay out or receive in those different entities. Say, for example, you're in Europe and you're like, hey, I'm going to start sending in Japan. I don't have any way to receive funds in Japanese yen. With our solutions, if you have an account, you can just literally spend less than 5 minutes. Instead of flying to Japan, opening up a bank account to receive in yen, you can actually just open with bank account from the comfort of your home through PingPong and just have a receiving account, apply that to your Amazon Japan marketplace, and you can start receiving yen instantaneously like that.
Yeah, it sounds pretty easy and pretty, the industry needed it. It was very important. I mean, 160 currencies. I know that you had a few currencies, but I didn't know there was 160.
Yeah, you can pay out. You can pay out in 160. You can receive in 10. Those are obviously continue to grow, but we're in the 10 most most popular ones, like United States dollar, Canadian dollar, Mexican peso, euro, the pound, Singapore dollar, which would be now you can receive and withdraw in, UAE dirham, Japanese yen, Australian dollar. So I think I hit all 10. Those are all the major ones that we support. Yeah, but you can pay out in like RMB, CNY, and for Hong Kong dollars, the other one you can receive in. Excuse me. So like India, if you want to pay your supplier in local currency, you can do that through our system as well.
Okay, that's interesting. Very interesting.
UAE, because the dirham, I'm trying to think of this, but if it's like any, yeah, so you can actually like receive funds because that's a budding market too. There's a lot of basically anywhere where there's Amazon Marketplace, we're going to support. We support like, so it depends on like where you want to withdraw in. Clearly, so it would be like UAE or like any part of the EU, we would support as well. So
that sounds really good. So, and what is the vision of PingPong for the next years to come? Let's not say 10 years, but for a few years.
I was gonna say we haven't even been around for 10 years, so that'd be like tripling our time. No, that's a good question. I think like any service provider wants to really like grow and really be a force. We've built an engine that's pretty cool, right? The partnerships that our company's built out. We have like our international headquarters is in China, so we support Chinese sellers, but we're also growing in India, South Korea, Vietnam. We have 3 locations in the United States. We are in Luxembourg. We're all around the world and still considered a startup. So we're really growing that brand recognition of what we do. But our kind of think about it, if you have built an engine, you can take that engine and start placing into lots of different entities. So our solution you could put into like maybe for like lending down the road, or you can start, these are all speculative, obviously, what we can obviously take those next steps, lending, or even helping people make payments, not just to business, but eventually potentially partnering with like business to consumer. We don't do anything like I can't pay you with PingPong to like with Venmo or through like PayPal to like pay for pizza. It's all strictly business focused, but maybe down the road, it's more, for compliance reasons, those are more difficult entities to build out. But like working with like different companies that like allow you to process payments and things like that, we can sit that engine into those platforms. And I think would allow you as a business to grow, but also working in different marketplaces that continue to grow as well. So that's kind of where I think our focus will go in, but ultimately saving money for Amazon and e-commerce sellers is what we're going to do time and time again.
Yeah, that's so the last message, what I understand of the is that helping sellers again, it's helping, helping because you take off the fees or the burden of them to wire money around the world uselessly, and just give them one channel where they can wire through. And this is amazing. It's an amazing help, and I think it's something for the future, which we will see more and more and more. Especially with cryptocurrency. Yeah,
you'll see us a lot more of this. You said you see me everywhere. That's my job, is to make sure that we're visible to everyone, and obviously bringing great minds, but obviously bringing brand awareness of PingPong. We'll be a lot of places in 2021, but at the end of the day, I always want to push 3 different things of how either a service or a person can save you either time, money, or effort. And I think like each service, if you're good, you do well in one. But if you do well in all 3, you're going to be a fantastic company or individual and partner. So saving time from opening like a bank account internationally, money, obviously that's a no-brainer. Other entities save money by doing it with them, or effort. Like if you have to take something off someone's plate and they just don't want to learn about it, helping educate those people in that vein, and then obviously bringing value in that context. So that's why I think our mission is to hopefully hit all 3 of those continuously and continue from there.
Yeah, that's amazing mission. And I wish you and the company PingPong best of luck with it. And I'm sure they can manage it, because, PingPong came from nowhere and now they are very, they are pretty big, I mean, like I say, I always say from nowhere, but afterwards, my sentence is always, I know that it's not from nowhere. I know there have been years of work before, but I mean, like,
Yeah, there's a lot of groundwork to lay.
Exactly. But you know, for
Yeah.
for
In
people
20,
outside,
yeah,
it seems like it came up like this, you know. But you know, it's not. It's not
yeah, to give you context, in 2020, we did 20 to 25 billion dollars in in sending and receiving.
Wow,
So
that's a lot.
that amount of like volume and currency going back and forth just in our systems alone is just to show you, like, that's a very tiny piece of the pie of like e-commerce that is using us. So if we're doing that much already, just think about as we scale larger and larger, that number will just continue to boom. And you know, it'll be crazy to see what numbers we turn out in 2021 as well.
Yeah, it would be great to see that. Happy to see that. And you know, and as well, having you meeting you in person and having you in another show, maybe, you know, because there is lots to talk about.
Absolutely. I have lots to talk about. I have a lot of different things I've always gone off on, taking a right hand turn, and never thought that those shows would ever be talked about, those different topics. So I obviously, you're a friend of the show of Crossover Commerce, which is what our podcast is named. We're on Spotify, Apple, everywhere you can look at it, but we do it on YouTube Live as well, Facebook Live, and we do all those different shows live. And I never edit it. So if it's just like me looking like an idiot, I know on our show, I was on mute a couple times. It was just like, all right, well, this is how it's going to go. So we're just going to continue to see how this show progresses. And I'm excited about that growth in that capacity as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yo, thank you for your time, Ryan.
Absolutely.
It was a blast. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Omar.
And we need to speak again. Really, we need to do another podcast and another topic. Once everything is calmed down, once we have this Corona done, maybe we can do some after Corona questions.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're, as a friend of the show, you're always welcome to come on and talk about a different topic. And you'll be getting messaged about that, I'm sure, shortly. So be on the lookout.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
No problem.
Bye.